All right, what up, Super Easy Forex family? This is Uncle P from Super Easy Forex, and I got time on my hands with my guest that I have today, which I normally don't do, but I have a guest on today, and this is a beautiful Nancy, and this is my actual best friend,
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing?
and she's actually my wife. Lucky me, huh? So anyway, I want to do this quick video for you guys. This one is called, what do you do when you want to be a full-time Forex trader, but your spouse or significant other or your family disagrees? You know what you want to do, but they do not agree with you. So what do you do in those situations? So we're going to talk about that just for a few minutes. Why? Because we have the time to do so. Thank you, coronavirus. So here's the deal. And I want to ask you this question because let me say right off the top, we were just having a discussion about entrepreneurs and one of the most important decisions that they have to make. And I want you guys to really hear me good on what I'm about to tell you. As an entrepreneur or a person who's about to be married to an entrepreneur, one of the most important decisions you can make is this person going to be right for me? Because entrepreneurs spend a tremendous amount of time with their business trying to develop it and everything else. And if you're not careful, the other person can feel left out, neglected, and so forth and so forth. Okay. And then you just got some people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, and then they end up marrying what they say all the time, boo. Opposites what?
Opposites attract.
Opposites attract. That I always say that's very dangerous. I've always said I always disagree. Here's
Well, it's really you have a different vision. You guys are not going in the same direction.
yeah.
And so sometimes when your paths go in different directions, you can kind of drift apart.
And I agree. And because
Yeah.
here's the deal. So, for an example, entrepreneurs tend to marry people who look for total security.
Right.
And if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring to be a forex trader, which is a risky business, you and I both know that there's no guarantees in it. And if you're trying to marry your opposite, that means you're trying to marry somebody who's looking for total security when you're a risk taker.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So I want to actually, and again, this is my wife and my best friend. So she's actually the backbone of everything for me. And I told her this morning and yesterday, I said,
Thank you,
without her, I wouldn't be where I am. So I really
Oh, thank
appreciate
you.
you. But let me ask you a question,
You're
babe.
my backbone.
No.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question though. So a real question, and be as honest as possible. I don't mind. I don't. You know me. I don't be
Right.
tripping because they need help. So how does it feel when I'm spending hours upon hours and I don't barely sleep at all trying to develop this new indicators? How does that feel when I'm not spending quality time with you?
I mean, sometimes you want your spouse's attention, but when I think of it in the greater scheme of
Oh, that
what
camera
you're,
right there. I'm sorry.
oh, sorry. When I think of it as of what you're trying to accomplish, I get myself out of the situation and not take it personal. It's hard not to take it personal as the spouse, but really it has nothing to do with you. They're not ignoring you. Um, they're really trying to focus on the vision and the goal of the task at hand. So sometimes it really takes you to get out of self
Yeah.
and not take it personal. I think that's what I had to learn to do is not take you spending time on your business as you neglecting me or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big eye opener for me, is not to take everything so personal because it really has nothing to do with you. When I do need my committed time, you give that to me, and I
Mhm.
think also communicating those needs and not being afraid to say, "Hey, babe, well, I need you right now."
Yeah.
That's okay too, but not a constant, nagging where you constantly, you ignoring me. I feel like you putting the business before me. No, no, no. Just really asking what you need in a way that's understanding, communicating those needs, but in the same sense, not making it so much about you
Yeah.
and feeling like, you're the other woman to the business.
And here's
Yeah.
what and entrepreneurs, I really want to talk to you because if you're trying to be a full-time forex trader, you end up spending a lot of time on your charts and this and that. Let me encourage you guys and give you wisdom. So one of the things I had to make an adjustment to was stop answering every person's questions immediately and trying to be there for everybody in the business. As the business is growing, there's a threat, and if you're not careful, and you're one of these arrogant entrepreneurs, yeah, it'll feel good. Look at how many people is coming to my business and this and that. Meanwhile, you're distracted from the one who you say you're doing it for, which is significant other and your kids or whatever. So for me, no, I'm not going to answer every question. I'm not going to do this and that. We got people who are answering emails and this and that, sending private messages. I'm not responding because it's taking too much. I'm already spending enough time away from my significant other and so forth to develop new indicators, working on new systems, making sure the business is running fine. That's enough. And then as the business is growing, people expect you to be there immediately for them. No, I can't do it because I can be there. And here's what I'm telling you guys, hear me really, really good. You'll end up being there for your customers, but you will end up not being there for your significant other. And eventually something's going to break.
Right.
And chances are, this is why. You remember when I did that speaking engagement up in Dallas one time? They had an entrepreneurial meeting or whatever you want to call it by the Dallas Chamber of Commerce. They asked me to come in and be a guest speaker.
Right.
And you remember that?
Yeah.
They thought I was going to come in there and talk about business because I done had before Forex. I had real estate, daycare, restaurants. I mean, I had all kind of businesses. So this ain't the first rodeo for me. I'm not tripping. The problem is they thought I was going to come in and talk about business structure, how to do this, how to do that. And I shocked the heck out of them. You remember that? I said, here's the question I asked them. I said, how many of you in this room feel like you're doing this business to improve the quality of your family?
Right.
Remember that? How many people raised their hand?
Most of them.
Almost everybody in the room did.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I got done with my step-by-step presentation,
Yeah.
I went back at the end and I asked them, I said, how many of you guys watched how I rephrased the question? I said, how many of you guys basically, now that we've discussed how many hours away from the family, how much dedication it takes to build a business and so forth, I said, how many of you feel like your family thinks that you're doing it for them? And how many people raised their hand?
Not many.
There wasn't many. And what happens is, I told them one of the statistics that I researched and found, because we're both certified life coaches and authors. So one of the research that I found was that entrepreneurs, out of all the category of people who get divorced, do you know entrepreneurs has the highest?
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy? Aren't that crazy? And so here's why we're doing this video. If you want to be a full-time trader, don't fuss with the other person and trying to convince them to think differently, because sometimes they're just not.
Right.
That's not your job to make a person think differently. You can state why you want to do it and everything else, but you can't force them to agree. But what happens is the more you work on the communication, even involved as it's going along, keeping them in the loop, not just sitting in your little room, locked away by yourself, not saying nothing to nobody, and then you isolated, they don't get to see you, and then this, no. Keep them in the loop step by step. That's what I try to do with my wife.
You do a good job at that.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to lose you over this business, man, please. You was there before any of this existed. You understand what I'm saying? So
But I think that's the key where is communicating the vision, communicating with your partner what you're doing so they feel like they're a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're isolating your vision and you're isolated doing this work, they may not have no idea what you're working on.
Exactly. Because you're and here's the deal. That was my boo. She, oh my God. What was that term they said? Social
Quiet.
Social quieting.
Yeah.
That's a new way of shut up. But here's the deal. I think when you guys are not fussing at each other, it opens the door for communication so that I can kind of explain it, even if you don't, because sometimes I tell you stuff on coding that I'm working on this and that with my coding team and with my this and that team. And the truth of the matter is sometimes you just don't understand exactly what I'm talking about, but at least I'm keeping you in the loop so you know that I'm trying to help you understand why I'm in here so long, and then I tell you, hey, I'm about to be done XYZ. I keep my wife in the loop of what's going on as best as possible. And what I appreciate about you is because you don't fuss at me and make me feel, like I gotta choose between XYZ. And I really appreciate that. That's why when it is time to be done, like on the weekends or something else, and she wants to go do something, man, I don't want to hear I ain't answering no emails, whatever. Because again, I don't want to lose my wife over a business.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Well, I think you've learned balance.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. You've learned how to balance your roles as a trader, as a businessman, and as a husband. And I think learning that correct balance in your relationship can make all of the difference.
You see how buttholes be coming in? I'm reading this comment of this little idiot. We gonna keep it flowing. But how they say I don't trade? How stupid are you? I trade in front of hundreds of people every week in my class. See, and these are the kind of people who deserve a bad spouse who will do them in. No, let me stop saying that. But the point is, let me keep it
You have to
moving.
ignore that.
Yeah, it's funny. They say you scam, but you're in front of hundreds of people when you do it. Okay, anyway, so here's the deal. The point is that in any business that you try to be an entrepreneur, I strongly suggest that you make sure that you have good communication from step to step, finish to finish. One of the most important decisions if you're going to be an entrepreneur, hear me good if you don't hear nothing else.
Right.
If you're going to be an entrepreneur, the most important decision you can make is the person you're going to be married to. Because, as I told you earlier, what happens is this: in this business, or any other business as an entrepreneur, what happens is that you will either be, the business will either be a success or failure, or you'll end up having to divorce one or the other
Right.
if you don't choose the right person.
Right.
Are you hearing what I'm saying?
That's
If
true.
you choose the wrong person, either you're going to end up in divorce and keep the business, or the business got to go, and then you still with your spouse, but you hold resentment against your spouse for it because you feel like they cost you the business
Right.
that you wanted. So you got to choose wisely who you're with. But even if you're already married or with somebody, one of the biggest things that you're going to have to remember is simply this: always make sure to keep your communication open
Right.
about step by step, whether they understand or not, so that they don't feel like they're being left in the cold because you want to start a business.
I love it.
All right. All right, you guys. Hopefully this was helpful, and have a blessed weekend. Thank you guys. Bye.
Have a beautiful weekend.